All right, well, welcome back. Another video. I'm Steven. This here is my language log. This channel has been sort of dedicated to two major things. Number one, I publish a lot of YouTube shorts that ask questions or make observations about language learning, largely derived from my own experience, but also some of the things that I see people are doing in my line of work or other YouTube videos that I see being posted from time to time. The other motivation for this channel is actually to keep me honest in my own language studies. If you've watched any of the other videos that are available on this channel, you'll see that I've done quite a few videos in Chinese at this point, but only one video in Russian. And so today I thought would be a good idea to give a little bit of an update of my own language studies, how they're progressing, where I'm at right now, and then what I'm going to be doing going forward into the rest of the year. So what am I doing? Which languages am I studying? There are two major languages that I'm looking at the moment. Number one is Mandarin Chinese. So I've been studying that for the better part of 10 years now, and I continue studying more by reading than anything else. I haven't been doing any formal textbook study, and I haven't been taking any formal classes with a teacher taking me through grammar points. I had been doing a lot of italki classes, and then also using Do Chinese to practice my reading each and every day. So Mandarin Chinese is the first language that I'm focusing on. The second language that I'm studying is Russian. Now this plays a little bit more of a minor role, and there was a bit of, reticence in studying the language given the current situation that's going on in Ukraine. However, on italki, I have found several teachers who are from Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and even Ukraine, and so they have made learning the language a lot easier, and sort of goes to show that a language can still just be a language. That aside, Russian continues to be the second language that I am studying, not as much or as often as Mandarin Chinese. The classes that I am taking are largely grammar focused. So and I'll tell you, the teacher, I've had a couple different teachers, but the teacher I've been with for the last couple of months has just been focused on studying grammar. We're talking like out of the half an hour class, the opening 10 minutes is free form conversation, and then we switch into looking at a grammar point. And this can be anything from learning about the instrumental, learning about prepositions, learning about different types of conjugations, such as like past, present, future, or even irregular verbs as well. And it's bit work. We're talking like it's piece by piece. It's I would say it's very slow going, but it's something that I need. And that's something that with Mandarin Chinese, the focus more on Mandarin Chinese is still learning characters and words. It's like vocabulary. So putting all of the characters into larger words. What do I mean by that? For Russian and English, these alphabet languages, if you just get one letter, there's not much meaning in that letter, abbreviations aside. In Chinese, a character can stand on its own, but then you take that character and you put it together with another character and it changes the meaning, and likewise, the more characters you add, the more complex the meaning or even the sound can be of a Chinese character. So, Mandarin Chinese continues to be more of learning the characters and vocabulary, whereas Russian, it's not just vocabulary, it's more about grammar. It's more about the grammatical endings and making sure I develop a lot more of an automatic response when I'm speaking or even writing in Russian. So where am I going with these two languages, Mandarin Chinese and Russian? Mandarin Chinese, I was thinking about doing the HSK 5 test towards the end of the year, but that's mainly because there's a guy I know who has also said that he's going to be doing the test. Maybe it's a good challenge to take up again. I wrote this test a couple of years ago and I failed it. I only got about like 47%, but I have no desire to, and I really have no reason to do that at the moment. Not only that, it would put pressure on me, and I'm not sure I really want that pressure just yet. That being said, I am working on a HSK video for this channel that talks a little bit about why you should or should not study the HSK standard curriculum. And what about Russian? We're actually on a break right now. My teacher is actually, so she studies away from her homeland and has now returned to her homeland, and she's traveling at the moment. So we are going to take a couple weeks off and probably start again late September, possibly October. As it is, I have wound up the majority of my language classes for now. I've finished the Chinese writing class I was taking. I finished a couple other conversational classes, and I also finished the traditional Chinese class that I was taking. So those are all put off to the side right now. I still have a few classes remaining for Cantonese and Taiwanese. So these are two other dialects that I was dabbling in a little bit, debating whether or not I really wanted to study another portion of the Chinese language. Mandarin Chinese is challenging enough. Adding traditional characters isn't such a problem because with every traditional character I learn, I typically learn another word or character in simplified. However, learning Cantonese really doesn't do very much for me at this moment. Likewise, learning Taiwanese, it was more of an effort to break out of only studying Mandarin Chinese and maybe comparing, contrasting the different dialects that are available. But by no means was I thinking of moving down to Guangdong or moving to Taiwan or anywhere else, to tell you the truth. It's simply out of pure interest, and that's why I would be doing that. When would I be finishing those packages? I think one Taiwanese package I'll probably cancel because it was an hour-long class, or it's a package of 5 hour-long classes, and I'm thinking that's a little bit too long for me. There's another one that's only 45 minutes, and I think I'll continue that one. But again, my commitment to learning Taiwanese is ibanban. It's only a little bit. It's not. I'm not fully committed to learning that language just yet, because as I found out, and this is one of the reasons I did sign up for these classes, Taiwanese, Cantonese, and Mandarin, although they all use the same script, the pronunciation of all the words is very different. So I'd be relearning how to say each and every character that I'm still trying to learn as it is, both in simplified and traditional. It's a lot to take on. Hi there, I hope you're enjoying this video. I thought I'd take a moment to kindly ask you to subscribe and like this video, as it really helps me to gauge interest in the topics that I'm covering. And also, it helps the YouTube algo decide what to push out to other people. So that would greatly help me as well in terms of the YouTube channel growth. Remember, like and subscribe. Let's get back to it. That being said, I will probably sign up for more traditional Chinese character class again later on, September, October possibly. And I continue to use Do Chinese to read traditional characters. So what I've done is that instead of reading higher level simplified texts, I now read lower level but traditional texts. We're talking like, hello, how are you? What train are you taking? Why are you late? What do you want to eat? Very simplified texts, but since it's all in traditional Chinese, it's still slow going. Now, the thing about traditional and simplified is that just because you learn one or the other doesn't mean you'll know that character in the other script. But as with most languages, there are chunks. For example, 为什么, why, 怎么样, how are you doing, or what's it like? They are the same sayings, the same words, same pronunciation, simplified or traditional. The characters that they use can be vastly different. But when you know what they are trying to say, it helps in learning or accessing the traditional character. So that's what I found as well. If anyone is studying traditional Chinese out there, have you ever thought or tried or dabbled in learning simplified Chinese as well? Has it come across your mind at all? Or is this something that you're like, I've learned traditional, I'm done with it, I don't really want to learn another script, basically? Let me know. So going forward, I will have more conversational classes in Mandarin Chinese just to keep the spoken fluency going, but I haven't done it just yet. And I'll probably push that off until October, November, once I know what I'm going to be doing for the next year once again. And along with conversational Chinese, I also want to continue practicing writing Chinese, if only using pinyin, if only using the keyboard. The reason for this is because I want to get up to speed on my Chinese writing abilities. I've been doing a lot of practicing of reading the Chinese characters, but just because I can say them and I can read them doesn't mean I'm able to write them. And so now the next big challenge is going to be able to write a decently grammatically error-free sentence in Chinese that I wouldn't be horribly embarrassed showing other people. How am I doing this? Two methods. Number one, I work with a teacher. I give her the social media post that I want to make, or some writing that I've done. Usually it's 4 or 5 sentences, and it's chock full of grammar errors and wrong characters and everything, and we go through it, and usually they're very gentle in telling me what mistakes I've made. And number two, the other method that I've tried but not very much is using ChatGPT. A lot of people are going to cringe at that, go, why would you trust ChatGPT? And that's a very good thing to keep in mind, that ChatGPT, for all its glory, is really good at just reorganizing information. It's not exactly 100% in helping you learn human languages. However, what it can do is spell check. And I've noticed more than a few times with my teacher that as I'm reading through the answer I'm giving her, I see that I've put in the wrong character. And this is because I'm usually writing very quickly in pinyin, and I don't pay attention to the Apple Chinese autocorrect, and it fills in the wrong word for me. And so when I read it back, it's the right sound, but it's the wrong character. And that just makes me look bad. So how am I going to use ChatGPT for this? That will be when I take the answer that I want to write, put that into ChatGPT, let it do the corrections, and then from there, probably even take that to my teacher as well and see if there's any further corrections that can be made. So that's going forward, continuing with writing Chinese, using pinyin input on the cell phone or the computer, and being able to write better, grammatically correct Chinese sentences. And so finally, are there any other languages that I'm working on? We got Mandarin Chinese, we've got Cantonese, we've got Taiwanese, and we've got Russian. That's enough. I'm not working on anything else at the moment. I am not interested in picking up anything else. Last year at this time, I did one Hindi class. I won't be doing any other experimentations just yet. There has been thought to pick up previous languages, such as French, possibly Ukrainian, but not at the moment. I am quite busy, not just with my own day job and learning Mandarin Chinese, but as this language channel, I'm trying to grow it a little bit more. And producing videos so often, I figured I should make sure that I have some other things solidified before I take on the challenge of learning any other languages. However, that being said, the purpose of this channel was to keep me honest in my own language learning, and I thought it might be interesting, or at least a good sort of study to see if I could learn whatever language in a certain amount of time. Now, this year I did pick up a little bit Korean again for my trip there, but I am not continuing with Korean. Again, it goes back to usefulness. Even with Russian, to tell you the truth, here in China, there's not much need for me to do that. English and Chinese, those are the only two languages that I really need at the moment, especially living here in Beijing, China. The other ones, Russian is just because it's a lot simpler than Chinese, I find. Korean was just to remind myself of what language I could have learned many years ago. But the other ones, I think it would be too much. I'd be asking too much of myself. And I know there's a lot of polyglots out there, people who call themselves polyglots, who like to study 5 or 6 different languages each and every day. It's like for 15, 20 minutes or an hour per day. I just kind of wonder if they have jobs. That's sort of the big question that goes through my mind. The fact that they are publishing to YouTube does speak to the fact that they are busy and they're doing stuff. So it's not like they're just generating AI content, pretending to be polyglots. There are quite a few who are able to manage a YouTube channel and study multiple languages, which I'm very impressed by. That's not me. And I think I've mentioned it before in other videos that Mandarin Chinese really is like a tripartite language, like a 3-part language where you have to learn the spoken, the written, and the reading, the characters as well. And so with that, it does take quite a bit of time to access the language. Hey, maybe if I write the HSK5 test and if I pass it, I will then move on to something else, such as like maybe practicing French for 3 months. My big issue with this, though, is if I ever did a language challenge such as that, I would still feel as if every minute that I spend and every day that I spend on that language challenge, then that's more time I could have spent with Chinese. You could make the argument taking up a different language would give you sort of a fresh start, or maybe a little bit of a challenge to rethink some of your study methods and study habits, which is a good idea, but not just yet. All right, so in two last things, as this YouTube channel has become a place where I've posted a lot of my thoughts on language learning, usually by way of YouTube Shorts. I just find it's easier to keep things moving that way. I also have a newsletter that I finally set up, and I figured a newsletter would be a good way for people who actually want to get away from the computer and not get sucked down that YouTube rabbit hole of watching video after video. Even though I know that's the whole purpose of using YouTube, is to learn. I did hear an interesting quote. What was it? A form of procrastination is thinking that you have to learn just one more thing. So if you think you have to learn one more thing, instead of doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing, studying a language, that's a form of procrastination. And I don't want to help you procrastinate. I want to help you move forward. And as a result, I have this newsletter now. You can sign up. I'll leave the link in the description below. I'm using a service provider called SendFox that enables me to quickly create the newsletters based off of the videos that we create every week. And so if you don't want to get sucked down to that YouTube rabbit hole, you can just check the newsletter. I think it's only going to be weekly for now. It's not every day. And that way you can be like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. That doesn't sound interesting. Oh, glad I missed that week. Whatever. But I'll leave the link in the description below. You can have a look at the newsletter and join along. And finally, there is a companion site, buymeacoffee.com/Stevens Language Vlog. I do have a few resources up there right now, and I'll be adding more to them. And that is meant more as a little bit of a repository for things that I think would be useful to people who are studying languages. A lot of them will be pay what you want. Some of them will be a certain fee. Right now, there's a spreadsheet that you can buy, a full year spreadsheet that you can buy for $5, and it's a study hours spreadsheet tracker, basically. And I think it takes me a couple hours to make these things. I figure if I save you a few hours, if it's $5, is it a big deal? And if it is, there's a free sample that you can take as well. So there's lots of opportunity, lots of choices for you to choose from. All that being said, buymeacoffee.com/Stevens Language Vlog. That's where you can find those resources available. All right, folks, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. It helps the count go up further. It's great to see that. And then also, if you enjoyed this video, if you give this video a like, then it also tells the YouTube algo that I'm doing something right, and maybe other people will appreciate this video as well. Thanks again. If there's anything I can do to help you with your language learning journey, let me know. Either leave it in the comments, or you can also send me an email. The contact information will be in the description below. Thanks again for spending some time with me today. I hope you got something from it. Not procrastination. And we will do this again. Thanks again. Bye-bye.